Let's talk some toys in here.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Today it's the Man-Child. Okay, so today for review, we're going to take a look at the new Masters Universe Origins Cartoon Collection Spikor figure. Yeah, we finally get Spikor added to line. Spikor is probably one of my top 5 favorite Motu characters or figures, going to, back to the vintage line, classics, and even in the cartoon. And now, of course, we get him in a cartoon collection. Of course, we got the vintage inspired Spikor out, I think a year ago. And I'll bring him in later for comparisons, and we'll try to mix and match the parts around. I was really excited to get him. But now I'm even more excited to get the cartoon collection one. And he's looking pretty good. And now, here's a look at the art and back of Spikor's packaging. And you can see he's climbing up to a tree trying to retrieve one of these game pieces. Now, this cartoon collection Spikor comes with 2 of these. And they're inspired from the episode called The Games. Now, I just rewatched that because I don't remember it. I probably seen it when I was a kid. It's episode 128. It was part of, the Filmation series. And just to kind of summarize it briefly, so pretty much an alien ship race came to Eternia. They were called the Bendaris. And they wanted to put the greatest warriors of good and evil against one another. And they selected Fisto and Spikor. Eventually, He-Man took his place. They had to find these game pieces using these Risk Seekers. I kind of bring that up because this figure doesn't come with one of those Risk Seekers, which would have been cool. But anyway, so basically the yellow one, which you see Spikor climbing trying to get, was worth, I think it was 100 points. And the red one was worth 2,000 points. Okay? Basically, Evil could cheat the contest. So, of course, Skeletor and I think Beastman and Merman will involve, trying to cheat, get these game pieces. But Good could not cheat. At one point, Fisto got in trouble, and He-Man couldn't help him, but he could take his place. So, of course, He-Man took his place. And the whole point of the contest was to see if Good could win over or prevail over Evil without cheating. Which, of course, He-Man won by using his intellect instead of his strength. So, it's from my memory watching, it's sort of what the whole idea was with this contest, and the whole idea of these game pieces as well. And then dropping down to the left-hand side, just shows some picture illustrations of Spikor holding another one of those game pieces. So that's the red one. It's worth 2,000 points, so he does come with that. And they also had buttons on the top they would have to push when they found them. So they were sculpted with buttons. And then taking a look down here, it just shows that he can twist into powerful battle positions. And, of course, he does come with the trident that goes on the left hand. I'm assuming to go on the right. And I don't think this one extends like the vintage one, but of course he's included with it. And here's a quick look at the cross sell with all 4 figures. It's included with this newer cartoon series. Now, some sites have them listed as Wave 4. Some sites just call them Catalog 2024 Cartoon Collection, so forth. But anyway, we have Web Store and Evil Lynn out. Of course, reviewing Spikor. And here's Clawful. I also have him in hand as well. And here's a quick tease of that new cartoon collection Clawful. Anyone check him out. Yeah, the head sculpt looks really cool on him and the overall body. He has some newer claws, which we know that's going to be added with the new Buzz-Off for the cartoon collection, which was pretty much announced for next year, I think. Let's look at the art and figures on the back. Alright, and before we take a look at Spikor and all his accessories, he comes with a new comic. It's the same comic that Clawful also comes with. It's called The Honor Amongst Thieves. Now I looked through it briefly. I didn't read it all. So, yeah, obviously here's a cover. Pretty interesting. Got Spikor. You have Stinkor up here. Skeletor's Clawful. I'll flip the pages, and I'll bring it up close. If you want to try to pause and read the captions, you can. Now, what I noticed in this comic from the little bit of reading I did was that... So, so here's the Bendaris, right? This was the same ship that was in the Filmation episode. But the comic takes a whole different turn than that Filmation episode did. You don't even see the game pieces in here. It's kind of a mix between the Bendaris, the good guys, the bad guys, Spikor, Clawful, that kind of thing. And they get taken, so the Bendaris take both He-Man, so you see He-Man, Orko, we have Clamchamp now, Man-at-Arms, Skeletor, Stinkor, Clawful, Spikor, and they take them to, it looks like their world. And that's where these games are going to go, from what I read anyway. Anyhow, just bringing it like this. You can read the captions, take a look at everything. All right. Stinkor again. I wonder if that's a hint to a Filmation Stinkor coming to line. Next page, and then, yeah, see now they're using that Horn of Evil. That's what Clawful comes with, instead of those game pieces. This, I summon those things down there. Let's go through here, and then I think there's one more page. It's Clamp Champ. I wonder if he's also going to also hint to a Filmation one as well coming in the line at some point. This, okay. And that's pretty much the last page. You can read all that if you wanted to. And now, here's a quick look around with Cartoon Spikor and all his accessories at a package. So, taking a closer look at Spikor's new head sculpt for the cartoon line. I think it looks pretty cool. Does what it has to do, you know, not a bad job for what the Origins is doing with the cartoon line. I like the size of those big yellow eyes, big black pupils painted in there inside the eyes. Now I think it's just paint. He has the 4 lower fangs hanging that are painted white, but I don't know, feel like sculpts. You know, like it's sculpted a little bit and painted. It's not just like white paint down the mouth, I don't think. He has the really cool sharp rows of spikes, obviously all around the head, top, and you can see around the back. Now they are kind of prickly, but they're soft. All the rubber on, including the armor, is very soft. Side, as far as the articulation, I even go all the way left, right, and you go down and back, and here's a closer look at all the spikes on the back. Pretty cool. So you have, let's see. You have 2 for like ears, close to the ears. You have 1 down here, right, 3, a couple rows, 1 up top, and then 1 in the middle. Right, so moving down to his new buck, or the spiny armor buck. So yeah, it's pretty much what Spikor gets. So you do get the larger spikes. Again, going back to the cartoon where the vintage one had a row of shorter spikes. He has a very simplified, the center piece of chest armor, which is part of the collar and the upper shoulder pieces. And if you spin them around, it goes all the way down the back. Now, they are 2 separate pieces, obviously. This is a hard plastic, right? The blue, and the, this collar and armor piece. And then the rubber, these rubber spikes or rubber armor pieces are separate, again, but they're all rubber, as I already mentioned, like the head, right? Very flexible at each spike. But yeah, it's still prickly, so it's a cool design. Again, going back to what they did in the cartoon at the time. Okay, spinning back around, yeah, his row spikes all back here, as already mentioned, and even get some on the sides underneath the arm, and then 2 at the top of the shoulders. Now, as far as the articulation, right, you can only spin at the waist with this. I want to break them in half for a second. I want to see something. Okay, so this armor does not come off the body. It is his buck from what I see. As I mentioned, this is a separate blue piece, and a rubber piece is how it was assembled, and they're just pegged and glued on or something, but this is his actual buck. I was hoping we can take this off and swap it out with the Origins one, but I think the Origins one is also part of the buck, so we can't do that. It's very similar. All right, so it's not removable. Anyway, and that's pretty much it as far as this buck. Now, moving on to the arms. Now, they have the newer cartoon-style arms. If you're not familiar, most people are by now. As far as the articulation with this rubber armor on, shouldn't hinder anything, but you can go all the way out or up, down, and then, all right, see, I'm wrong. When the arm's in, check that out, the spike, the bicep hits the spike, and when you go down, back, it hits the spike, so the arm has to be out about that far in order to, to clear the spikes. So that's the articulation, and then if you bring the arm up, you can still bend it to the face before it's going to hit this spike here. You can go down to the side, things like that. And then the other arm's going to be all the same with the spikes, right? Yep, hit that one, you go out, kind of thing. So I guess that's expected. Put big spikes on the outside parts of the armor. Then he has just the simplified wrist bracers as part of sculpt, painted to match the arm, just like they did in the animation today to, save time instead of so they didn't have to color these in. I think He-Man, only a few characters had color bracers. Everybody else usually matched everything. And then he comes with 2 semi-closed or open hands, right? And they can spin, go in and out on hinge joints, and the left side is all the same. So moving back over to the waist and the legs, so of course you have that simplified belt like you had in the animation. Normal loincloth, very similar to the vintage Origins, something like that. And then the legs are, again, it's a different type of aesthetics than the regular Origins cartoon legs, I'm going to call them. And as far as the articulation with those legs, you can go all the way out with a split, kick forward, go back about that far, bend at the knee, you can spin at the knee, the legs are all the same. And then they have their cartoon style boots, which are very identical to the regular Origins boots, I want to say. It might be little changes, but they look very identical. And of course, Spikor is black, and they can spin. You can remove them if you want, and then the foot, it's all the same. Go up, down, and rock side to side. Okay, so moving on to Spikor's weapons and accessories. So again, as far as accessories, he gets those game pieces, right? That's the yellow one. It's already mentioned, it's worth 100 points. And there's a red one, going back to the animation episode, it's worth 2,000 points. These are the little buttons on top. They don't do anything. They don't push down. And in the cartoon, they were black. So if you want to paint them black or something, you can. And yeah, obviously they're completely transparent. You see right through them. And they have little handles for the gripping hands to hold, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, for Spikor's last accessory weapon, comes with his iconic trident that you usually see on the left arm. It can go on the right. So, yeah, typical Origin-style peg that is on a hinge joint. Anyway, mine's stuck, but you can see it will go up and down. And it's just a, yes, very simplified trident, round little things at the edges, which I guess is some type of like a blaster instead of a pitchfork. And it looks like it's a separate piece that would spin inside this orange piece. Right, like it would pull off, but mine's not coming out. If I try spinning it, it seems like it's stuck. I want to break it. So once again, here's Spikor back in the frame, and let's put his pitchfork on. So I'm going to just remove this hand on the left side for now, and just put this pitchfork like that. And then I'm also going to put one of those game pieces in his right gripping hand. I want to see how they go in, how he holds them. Okay, so they are sculpted pretty well, and it seems to snap right into the hand, how he holds it. We'll give him the 2,000 point one. And there's a quick look at that setup. So we have our Spikor with the 2,000 point game piece in the right hand, right? Of course, the trident in the left. And I think I'm going to pretend these are some kind of plasma bombs or something in my collection instead of a game piece. They almost look like they could be. And then, of course, I just switched the hands around. So I just put the other hand back on. I put the yellow 100 point game piece right in the left hand. Put the trident on the right for something different if you wanted to. And if you had two of these figures, you can buy two tridents if you wanted to. Or, you know, hold a game piece in each hand if you want it. However you want to set them up. So once again, moving forward with some comparisons and mixing and matching the parts. So here's our cartoon Origins Spikor against the Super 7 Classics Filmation cartoon Spikor. There's a look at those two. So you can kind of get an idea of how Super 7 went about their Spikor, which is supposed to be very accurate to the cartoon, like it just jumped out, plus or minus. Now there's nothing you can really switch around that's going to work with this figure onto the Origins one. The heads do come off, but they have very small pegs, are different, and yeah, these break easy. They're cool figures, but they have a lot of QC issues. I will say that with a lot of Super 7 Club Grayskull stuff, in my experience anyway. And that's his trident. You can see he does come with a small club, and that's about it. So for next comparison, I brought in the Masterverse Revelation Spikor against, of course, a cartoon Spikor. So it's those two together. Now, it would have been cool if his armor was removable. I was hoping it would be, because I would have tried the armor on this guy and take his armor off, because his is removable, and put it on this guy, which I don't think it would fit. It's very slim, and their bucks are large. So we can't do that, but we might be able to swap some weapons around, and maybe the heads. So, you know, and obviously it's purples. It's a lot lighter color, where his is a deeper purple. But for fun, I'll switch the heads around and see what that looks like, and the weapons. Okay, so focusing on the cartoon Spikor first. So I just put the Masterverse, that mechanical trident, just put it on the left side for now, which fits perfect. So it's the same peg, right? It can spin and wobble around somewhat. And this doesn't come out if you're not familiar. I thought it did extend. It's just, I guess, pegged into it and glued, at least on my figure. And I also put the club in his other hand, which works really well for the Spikor. And once again, with the same setup, now I just put the Masterverse Spikor head on top of this cartoon Spikor. And it does work, same peg, articulates well. Again, the color shade is a little off, you can get it to work, but yeah, it does look a lot smaller. So there's kind of a quick comparison with the head difference. This head was very narrow. Alright, so once again, it's threw his head back on his body, because it looks better. I left the Masterverse trident on the left side, and this put his other trident on the right, so now he has dual trident weapons from each figure. You want to pose them like that. And once again, moving back to the Masterverse Spikor. So I just threw the Origins Spikor Trident on the left side, the short one, just to show you it works. And there it goes, articulates up and down. We already know what the large one looks like. He also came with a short one as well. It was a shorter piece. I think that was extended in, just a long one. Put the spike weapon back in his hand, and then of course I put the cartoon head on. And yeah, it fits the ball peg, articulates well. And it's funny, the head looks really good on his body with the armor. It is darker, but it does work. And lastly, so here's a quick comparison between the regular Origins or Vintage Inspired Spikor against, of course, our cartoon Spikor. So those two together. And yeah, this Spikor, going back to a kid, was one of my favorite figures in that vintage line. I remember like it was yesterday going to Child's World and getting him amongst many other figures. Something always cool about him. Anyway, now this Spikor also came with a short trident that was extended in, and then this is the long one. I put the short one away, so we're just going to focus on the longer one. The vintage one in a kid had like a straight arm, if you're not familiar. It didn't have any articulation, and it had an action feature with that trident, which slide in and out, which is pretty cool at the time. But I think I like having the articulation of two different, tridents, a short and a long. Anyway, let's see what parts we could switch around with these two. So once again, mixing parts first with the cartoon Spikor. So I just put the vintage Spikor's trident right on this side. Take a look at that. Looks pretty cool. And, same peg, obviously, and articulates all around. And then I just put his big club in this hand, because this is actually larger than the other Spikor club from the Masterverse. It's pretty cool, and he holds it well. And I just left the head on for now. Quick look at that setup. And of course, the other thing I did was just put the vintage inspired Spikor's head on a cartoon body. Quick look at that, and that looks really good on that body. The colors, again, the purples are a little brighter in this one under my light. This is a flatter color, but it can work. But when you go to articulate it, see, the spikes are shorter on his head, and of course you have these two long shoulder spikes. So when you go to turn them, they do get caught. But as you can rock the head back and forth to move it out of the way. So it can go all the way left to right, right. Let's see, go down, look down about that far and all the way back. All right, that's pretty cool. Set up for this cartoon Spikor. You want to use that head and that arm. Okay, so the next thing I did was I just left the cartoon spiky armor body, the buck, and I switched out the vintage Spikor, just the lower half with the legs, the boots, right? I switched both arms out, and I kept the vintage head on that we already had on the body. I just kept that long trident on, and I put one of the game pieces in that hand, see if it holds it. Same hands, but that's a pretty cool look. If you like that buck and those other parts, you want to mix them up, because a lot of people don't like these cartoon arms and legs are mixed on them. So quick look at that setup for the cartoon body. And then once again with the same setup as far as the spiky cartoon buck, Origins legs and arms, I put the cartoon head back on that body, and I put the smaller trident, cartoon one, of course, and the vintage arm on the left side, and his other, the long trident on the vintage arm on the right side. And here's a quick look at that setup. That looks awesome too. So once again, I put the vintage inspired Spikor body all back together again. So you can see we have that main armor, right? The lower legs, the arms, the trident, and his spiky, the spike weapon. And now I just put the cartoon head on his setup, if you like that. And it doesn't look bad. Articulates well. And of course, once again, I just switched rolls around as far as the arms and legs, going back to the vintage figure. So we have the vintage spike body. I have the cartoon head on, obviously the arms and legs with the, this belt setup. So if you like that, on that, I don't know what you're gaining is the vintage body, you can. Looks pretty cool. Of course, I threw the long trident on that side and drew one of his game pieces, or it's going to be my bomb. I'm going to call it a bomb. It's going to be a weapon in hands. Quick look at that setup. And then lastly, of course, I just put the vintage head back on, the vintage spiky body. We got the cartoon arms, the lower legs. It's going to keep that trident in the arm, because I think that's pretty cool. And I put the spiked mace in hand. And that's about it. Looks pretty cool. So you have a couple different options between this vintage Spikor and the cartoon, how you want to mix them. And everything seems to work together well, depending on what arms, heads, and what buck you want on your figure. All right, that about wraps it up. And that's my review for the new Master Universe Origins Cartoon Collection Spikor figure. Yeah, I think it came out awesome for the cartoon line. At least what the cartoon collection is doing as far as the aesthetics. What I mean by that is, a lot of people don't like these arms and legs, over the vintage figures. I think they're cool. Something different. I like the spikes all over his body, how large they are. And they are hard rubber, but yeah, it's a cool design. His head's awesome. Not only does it look good on this body, it works pretty cool on the vintage Spikor like I showed, or even the Masterverse. And yeah, it's neat to give it a lot of Trident. I wish this piece came out. I don't know if it does or not. It looks like it's a separate piece and glued in, and it would be cool if you had an extension piece on it. But again, in a cartoon, I don't remember seeing him have this too often, and if it even extended. And you can always use this one like I showed, or the Masterverse one. And then, of course, they give them these little game pieces, which, yeah, they're kind of bland, but to me now they're like some kind of energy bombs. You got a yellow and a red one, a super bomb. So that's fun. Use your imagination. Beside that, it's just cool to have Spikor added to the cartoon collection. I think it came out great. So as always, I appreciate everybody watching. Until next time, take care.